So welcome to session 4 of module 4 in software engineering. So in the last sessions we understood what is software testing, its importance, its significance, the different stages in which we could do software testings, the different levels at which we can do software testing. So all those things were understood in the previous sessions. Okay. So we were into the different stages in which software testing could be done. So we understood software testing could be done during design and coding, so that we call as development testing. So that was discussed in session 2. Okay. So in development testing we have different types, unit testing, component testing and system testing. The same was being discussed. Okay. So release testing is the second type, where testing is done after the product is complete. So that was release testing. And once the product is complete and given to the customer, so the customer will start experiencing it. Any issues, flaws, the customer will inform the company, and that is user testing. Okay. So in session 3 we took up component testing under development testing. So we understood how component testing is done by combining the smaller components or smaller units using interfaces. Okay. Basically the major highlighting factor in component testing was interface testing, because components will use interfaces to communicate with one another. So interfaces are very crucial part in component testing, because if the interface is not working properly, the components will not interact accordingly as per the expectation, and this can result in unexpected situations. Okay. So to avoid this, testing the interfaces was a crucial factor in component testing, and we had seen the same in session 3. Okay. So today we will start with system testing. So as we can see, system testing is one of the types, one of the levels in development testing. Okay. So we will take up system testing in today's session. So to have a brief recap, we understood development testing is done during design and coding. In development testing we can test at various levels. What are the different levels? So we can start at the bottommost level, at the smallest routine, at the smallest function, which is unit testing. Okay. Small routines combined together can become a component, one component. Like this, there can be many components. So testing those components with interfaces, so we understood it is component testing. Okay. Now what is a system? So the first point we need to understand here is, a system is all components interacting, integrated, working in synchronization. So that will become a system. So for example, this is my system or software. Okay. So we can have some components here. Let us component 1, I will call it as component 1. So component 2. So like this I can have n number of components. Okay. Also we understood each component will interact with other component using interfaces that I have indicated by a line joining the two components. Okay. Now basically what we are testing in system testing. Okay. So system testing involves integrating all the components. Please note, it is not some selective set of components or a subset of components as we were doing in component testing. System testing is we are integrating all the components, okay, together as a whole to form a system or software. Okay. Now what you will be verifying, what we will be checking in system testing. So first thing is whether all the components that are integrated, okay, whether all the components that are integrated are compatible. Okay, whether they are compatible with one another. So is there any issue with respect to compatibility? Okay. So that is one primary thing that will be verified here. Okay. Also when all the components were combined, whether the data transfer is as per the expectation. Okay. Data transfer from one component to another component across the interface, is it as per the expectation? So that is one more thing that will be verified. Okay. Also, we would have combined the reusable components into the software, because we do not develop each and every component, or we need not develop each and every component from the scratch. Some components can be reused in different software projects. Okay. For example, a component which is collecting customer information. Okay. See, it may be for a banking software, it may be for a hospital software. So collecting customer information or patient information. So it will be a common module. Okay. So with minor changes, slight modifications, we can customize the component and we can reuse it. So such components can be part of the software. Okay. So we verify whether reusable components that have been integrated are working correctly. Okay. So the point here is, system testing is testing the software as a whole rather than individual units or components, or a set or subset of components. So as a whole we will be testing it. Now you may start wondering, we have already done the component testing. We have already seen how when components are integrated, or how when they are interacting with the interface, what is their behavior. We have already tested it. Then why we need system testing? Okay. So as already mentioned, system testing is combining all the components from the very first component to the last component. Okay. When you do such a integration, such a combination, okay, so there will be what we call as an emergent behavior. Okay. Some emergent behavior will be there. Emergent behavior means behavior as a whole. Okay, so the complete software behaving as one whole component. So this is the emergent behavior, and emergent behavior can be experienced, can be verified only when all the components are integrated. Okay, not 2 or 3 components or a subset of components. Okay, so we can check, we can test the emergence behavior of a software using system testing. So that is where system testing can be distinguished with component testing. So please do not get confused here. Okay. So I can give you a few examples. For example, now consider database is one component. Okay. My database is maybe component number 9. Okay. So as we are aware, a database cannot be directly accessed by anyone. Okay, we need mechanisms to authenticate and verify a user. So only authenticated and verified users can access the database. Okay. Also, authenticated user cannot do all the operations, cannot access everything in the database in all different types of modes. Okay. He may be given access with restricted privileges, okay, which we call as authorization. Okay. So maybe for authenticating a user, we may have a component. Okay. For authorizing a user, we may have one more component. Okay. So please note, database was one component. Authenticating a user through credentials such as user ID and password is one component. Authorizing what he can access in the database after gaining entry into the database, what he can access, what operations he can do, what operations are restricted for the user. So all these things will be defined under authorization. So as you can see in this typical scenario, so each and every component is performing a specific action. Okay. Individually they are different. Okay, authentication, individually it is doing its own task. Authorization, okay, as one single component it is doing its own task. Database, as a component it will perform its corresponding action. But when we integrate it, okay, when we integrate it as one single unit, one single system, its behavior will be different. Like, so I will give my credentials. Okay, once I give my username and password, so we need to have an interface to the database. The database will verify it. The database will verify the credentials, and based on the credentials and authorization given to the user, we can perform appropriate actions on the database. Okay. So we can see all the components will work together in synchronization, and finally we will experience an emergent behavior. So the emergent behavior in this case is user accessing the database and doing the required manipulations. Okay. So in this case we are testing the system as a whole. So this was a small example to understand how testing individual components will be different from testing all the components integrated together. Okay, so there is a difference here. Emergent behavior is different compared to behavior of individual components. Okay, so this was system testing. So our major focus will be towards interaction, whether all the components are interacting correctly as per the expectation. Okay. So this was system testing, the highest level of testing that is being done by combining all the components. Okay. So to summarize, we were in development testing. So development testing is one of the stages of software testing. In which stage it is done? So it is done during design and coding, when the software plan is being done, when coding is being done for the software. So development testing is done. So development testing can be done at different levels, starting with the smallest unit, smallest part in the software, smallest function, smallest routine, which we call as unit testing. Smaller units combined together can become a component. So how one component is interacting with another component, that will be tested, that will be verified in component testing. And finally it is system testing, where all the components of the system are integrated, interfaced together, and the behavior of the system is tested, okay, which we call as emergent behavior. Okay. So this was system testing. So at this point we have completed one of the significant stages in testing, that is development testing. Also we understood the different levels in which development testing could be done. Okay. Now before going into release testing, okay, so we will take up one more aspect of testing called as test driven development. Okay. We will try to understand what it is. So approach in testing, designing, coding and testing, called as test driven development. Now what is test driven development? Now as the title is emphasizing, we design and code the product, software product, with emphasis on testing. Okay. So our major emphasis is testing the product then and there itself. Okay, then and there itself. You develop a small routine, test the product there itself. Test whether it is expecting as per the, the outcome is as per the expectation, or is there any issue with it. Any issue, take the feedback, okay, fix the issues or errors, retest it. Okay. So the focus during design and development is basically test driven, so which we call as test driven development. Okay. How exactly it is done? So we will try to understand this through a small graphical illustration. Okay. How exactly a test driven development is done. Okay. We take up a new increment. Okay. So we take up the new functionality or the new increment. So take the new functionality, new increment, write the test case for it. So write the test case for the new increment. Okay. Once we are done with the test case, It's a rounded rectangle. So it's a notation. Okay. So after writing the test case, run the test case. So run the test case. Okay. Now we need to make a decision. What is the decision? Should you continue with the next increment, new increment, or should you recheck the old increment that was just now tested by writing the test case and running the test case? Okay. So it depends on the result of the test. Okay. So after you have executed the test case, okay, so we will introduce a decision box here. So a decision box is introduced. Okay. So if the test case will pass, if it passes, then we will go into the new increment. For example, previously it was increment number 1. Now if increment number 1 passes the test, we will go to increment number 2. Okay, meaning that we will enter into the next increment only if the test case, okay, that was executed on this increment is passing. What if it fails? So what is the meaning of a failure here in this context? Failure means there is some issue, some flaw with this increment. See, this increment can be a small piece of code, okay, a functionality, a routine, a program. Okay. So I tested a small functionality, I tested a small routine, I tested a small program with a test case, okay, by writing and executing the test case, and I found out there is some issue because of which there was a failure. Okay. Now what needs to be done? I cannot go to the next increment because my previous increment itself, my previous function itself is having some issue. So obviously I cannot take up the next function, okay, for writing the test case and testing. Okay. So what I need to do here is, if I experience a failure, okay, so I'll be doing the required changes. So I'll be doing the required changes so that I can fix the reasons which has caused the failure. Okay. So I'll do the changes. Now once done with the changes, shall I directly go to the new functionality? No, definitely not. So after doing the changes, whether the new increment or the functionality is behaving as per the expectation, is it giving the expected outcome? Okay. So I need to check it once again, I need to test it. Okay. So I will run the same test case once again. Okay, I am not writing a new test case, the test case that was written previously. So after doing the required changes, I will run the test case. Okay. Once again, same thing. If it passes, I will take up the next functionality. For the new functionality, I will write the test case and run the test case. Okay. If it fails again, so what is the reason for which failure has occurred? I will try to identify it, fix it. Once done, once again I will run the test case and ensure that I will get pass as an outcome, so that I can be sure that there are no issues with this small functionality or routine. Okay. And I can take up the next one for testing. Okay. So this is test driven development, and the major thing that you should observe here is emphasis is given to testing. Each and every, you are developing a small part, you are designing a small part, you will test it then and there itself immediately by writing the test case and running the test case, executing the test case. Okay. Now using this approach, is there any benefit? Okay, is there any advantage? So definitely, the first major advantage of having or using this approach is the code coverage. Okay. So we are discussing what are the benefits, what are the advantages of this. So just now I mentioned we have a strategy called as test driven development. We understood how it is working. Okay. Now it is popular means definitely it will have few advantages. Okay, what are those advantages? We will see. The very first one, so code coverage. Okay. So we can easily determine through this graphical illustration that the code will be covered in an exhaustive manner. Okay, major part of the code will be covered, because please see, we are focusing at the micro level. Okay, meaning that we are taking into consideration each and every increment, small functionality. So we are testing the software at that level, meaning that majority of the code will be tested, okay, for any issues or flaws. Okay. So defects will be identified, and we can ensure it will be fixed and the functionality passes with respect to the expectation. Okay. So that is one of the major benefits, code coverage. Okay. Second one is what we call as regression testing. Regression. What is regression? Okay. See, you made a change, okay, to the functionality, to the increment, because of failure. Okay, because of the failure to the increment or functionality, you made a change. So there itself you are checking whether the change that you are making, whether it's right or wrong, okay, and how it will impact the change that you are making. Is it impacting in a positive way or not? Okay, so that is being done. So which we call as a regression testing. Okay, so the change we are making should not introduce new bugs, new issues. It should fix the old issues because of which failure has occurred. Okay. And as I already mentioned, we are managing at the micro level, the smallest level. Okay, so debugging will be simplified. Okay. So simplified debugging. So no need of using a separate debugger and debug the whole code or larger parts of the code, because here itself we are doing the same. Okay, so we are reducing our headache, which may be needed at a later point of time. Okay, so this was simplified debugging. Also documentation. Since we are seeing, we are observing the finer details of the code, we are testing it, so we can come out with carefully documented content. So documentation. So these are few benefits of test driven development, approach where you will strategize design and development with emphasis on testing. Okay. So this was one of the approach. So next we will take up release testing. So we will try to understand what is release testing, how exactly it is done. So what are the different aspects we need to consider during release testing. So all the stuff will be taken into consideration, and we will have a discussion here. Okay. So the second one, release testing. Now we understood development testing, release testing and user testing are the three stages in which you can test a software product or a system. Okay. We understood when development testing is done. So development testing is done when you are designing the software, when you are coding the software. Okay. Now when release testing will be done. Now after you design and develop the software, as you already saw, we have done the system testing, means you have integrated all the components and you have come out with one single software or a system. Okay. Meaning that you are almost you are complete with the software. Now once the software is complete, so what is your next plan? What is the next step we need to take? Okay. So once the software is complete, we need to give it to the customer or client. Okay. But so we have an extra stage here. We will not be giving the software directly to the customer. Instead, okay, we will do what is called as release testing. Okay. So to have a recap of software process, Okay, we'll try to have a recap of software process so that we can understand where exactly release testing comes into picture. Okay, so if we try to remember software process, there is a starting point, that is requirement analysis, collecting the requirements and analyzing the requirement. Okay, then we enter into design. Once done with the design, we enter into implementation, or I will call it as coding. Okay, once done with it, the product is almost ready. Okay, and just now we had a discussion where we understood during design and development, during this stage. Okay, so development testing is done. The two at various levels, like unit, component and system. Now once we are in this stage, once we have reached this part of the timeline, now what is the status of the software product? Okay, now is it in the beginning stage, is it in the intermediary stage, or is it almost complete? I will not call it as a complete product, almost complete. Okay, so the answer to this question is, it's almost complete. Okay, once it is complete, as I already mentioned, we are not giving this software product. I will mark the software product through this rectangular block. We will not directly give this to the client or the customer. We are not directly passing this software. Before we give it to the client, we will do what is called as release testing. So the name is giving some indications. Okay, before releasing it to the client, test it once again. Okay, now for what aspects it should be tested? Okay, we will try to explore it. So we will perform release testing for the following reasons, keeping the following aspects in mind. The first thing is, okay, the quality of the product. See, please understand, we are trying to see the software as a whole, not smaller individual units. Okay, that is what we have called it as a product. Whether the quality of the software, the quality of the system or the product, okay, is it good? Okay, is it acceptable? Okay, so is it following all the required standards? Is it convincing to the user? Okay, so this will be verified at this part, it is release testing. Okay, also it will be verified with respect to the user needs. So the release testing team will check whether this software product satisfies the needs of the user. Okay, now how the testing team will get to know what are the needs of the user? So as per the previous discussions we had, user needs will be documented in the requirement document, that is in the SRS. Okay, so the release testing team will go through this SRS once again. What are the needs of the user? So they will study that, whether all the needs, all the requirements are part of the software that's almost complete. So that will be verified here, because if the client has given some requirement and if it is missing, definitely it will not be acceptable. Okay. The third aspect in release testing is, okay, it will be checked for a normal usage scenario. Okay, for example, it's a banking software. A customer is trying to open an account. So a scenario like that will be planned. Okay, and is the software behaving? Is the software navigating as per the normal expected scenario? Okay, for example, like as I already mentioned, customer is opening an account in a bank. Okay, so we have built a software for it. So the customer will open the registration form. He will enter his details like username, mobile number, address, Aadhaar card number, and you click on the submit button. Once he has done that, the data should be stored in the database. Okay, so this is what I mean by a normal usage. Okay, so it will be verified whether the software is performing, behaving as per the expectations in a normal scenario. Okay, It is also verified, it is also checked, it is also tested for the different functionalities. So different functionalities of the software will be verified. The performance factors will be checked. Okay. The response time, usage of memory. So already we had discussed this in non-functional requirements. So it will be tested. Okay. Basically, in release testing, the system will be visualized as a black box. So what is black box was already discussed. In black box, we are not going into the coding aspects. We are not going into the smaller, minute parts of the software, to keep it simple. Okay. We see the software as a whole and we try to test the emergent behavior once again, as I had mentioned previously. Okay. So the complete software will be visualized as a black box. Okay. And the functionality will be checked. Okay. Now release testing is using different approaches. Different approaches are there, different ways are there in which you can do release testing. The same has been highlighted here. We can see the first way in which you can do release testing. Okay. The first approach is requirement based release testing. What is requirement based release testing? So we'll try to understand it. Okay. So we are in release testing. Okay. We understood the software product is almost complete, but before giving to the client, we are testing the software for few aspects across few dimensions. Okay. Also, we understood there are different approaches to release testing. We are studying the very first approach. Okay, what is it? The first approach in release testing, that is requirement based testing. What is requirement based? Okay. So already I mentioned all the requirements of the client will be documented during requirement engineering and analysis. Okay. All the requirements will be documented here. Okay. Requirements are there in the document. We had also understood requirements will be given with numbering. Okay. There will be unique number for each and every requirement. Okay. For example, I will consider the patient monitoring software. Okay. So the hospital had given a requirement that there should be a login for the patient monitoring system or software. Okay. This is one of the requirements. So for this requirement, a numbering will be given so that it is uniquely identified. For example, 125, or to be more specific, I'll call it as R125, meaning that requirement number 125. Okay. I'll take maybe one more requirement, R335. I'm choosing random requirements from the document. Okay. So doctor should be able to enter the patient details. Okay. So as we understood during the discussion of a patient monitoring system or a hospital management system or software. Okay. So a patient should be able to log in so that he can book an appointment. He can book for an appointment. Also, we understood after the doctor diagnoses the patient, he should be able to enter the details of the diagnosis. What medicines were prescribed, what are the typical symptoms of the patient, so what is the follow-up that needs to be done. So all those details the doctor should be able to enter, and that is also one of the requirements. Okay, so as you can see, requirement number 335. Okay. Now, what is requirement based testing? So how testing is done here? Now what happens here is each and every requirement will be taken. For example, I will take this requirement number 125. Okay. What this requirement is talking about? The login. Okay. Now test this requirement. What is expected in a login? First, a web page should appear to the patient. So on the web page, patient will enter his credentials like user ID and password. Once he has entered it, he will submit it and he should be given with the appropriate response. Okay, you can see 3 different stages here. Okay, maybe for each stage we will have a test case. Okay, for example, TC01, test case 01 for checking whether patient is getting the login page, because first he should be given with the login page, then only he can enter the credentials. Test case 02, after the login page is served to the patient, he needs to enter the user ID and password. Okay, so that is being checked by test case 02, whether user can enter those details. Okay, maybe test case 03, after entering the details, you click on the submit button. Okay, and these details should match with the details stored in the database, assuming that he is a registered patient. Okay, so the thing that should be noted here is, we have taken a requirement. Okay, we have taken a requirement with this ID R125. This is what is needed as part of the requirement. Patient should be able to log in, and this requirement is tested using 3 test cases. 3 test cases. Also, we will declare the result. For example, TC01, it is passing, pass. TC02, it is failing. Okay. So this is requirement based testing, where we are testing the software product by taking into consideration the requirements that were given by the client, which were documented, okay, which were documented during the initial stage by giving a unique ID for each requirement. Okay, so we take up a requirement, we test it rigorously through different test cases for different scenarios, and we verify the results. So this is requirement based testing. So the major highlighting part here is requirements of the clients are taken and tested for the expected behavior. Okay, this was the first one under release testing. So this approach could be used to test the software product. Okay. So this was requirement based testing. Next one, the second type in release testing, that is scenario testing, scenario based testing. So we'll try to understand what is this scenario based testing. So now we are into the second approach in release testing, that is scenario based testing or scenario testing. Okay. What is a scenario based testing? Okay. So in scenario based testing, typical real time scenarios will be simulated. Okay, the tester will put himself in that situation. He will experience the software, he will use the software assuming to be in that typical situation, and he will try to identify any flaws or issues with the software. Okay, so we will try to improvise the clarity with an example. Okay, now you consider the same patient monitoring system. Okay, the tester needs to check the functionality, whether after doing the diagnosis, the doctor or nurse is able to enter the diagnosis details correctly to the database. Okay, this should be verified. Okay, so typical scenario is the patient will go to the doctor, the patient will visit the doctor. Okay, I'll just mark it through the sequence. Once the patient visits the doctor will diagnose the patient. Okay, he will try to make out what are the symptoms, then he will give the required medicines for the patient, and all these things will be updated in the database. Okay, maybe by the nurse. We'll assume nurse is updating the database. All these details will be stored in the database. Okay, and for storing the database, the nurse should access the patient record. So that is one more aspect here. The nurse should access the patient record that was already created. Okay, when the patient had registered himself with a receptionist. We had seen this scenario in module 2 and even in module 1. Okay, so patient record will be created and stored in the database initially when the patient registers himself with the receptionist. So in the database the record is already there. Then the patient will visit the doctor. So he will be done with the required diagnosis, and all the diagnosis data will be entered by the nurse to the database by accessing the record of that patient. This is a typical scenario. This is a typical expected functionality in the patient monitoring software. Now, we are under scenario based testing. We need to test whether this is working as per the expectation. We need to test whether there are no issues or flaws in this typical scenario. Okay. Now what the tester will do? Okay. So tester will take the role of maybe nurse. He will take the role of a nurse. Okay. Now the patient by name Anil will assume the patient by name Anil has been diagnosed by the doctor. Details of Anil should be stored in the database. So as I already mentioned, the tester who is in the release testing team, okay, he will assume the role of the nurse. He will assume the role of nurse and he will start accessing the record of Anil. Okay. So now he will be given with a web page. He will access the web page that is needed for accessing the record and storing the data. Okay. So the web page will have a text box which will ask the user to enter the name. Okay. It will ask the user to enter a name. We will assume like this. Fine. Now the tester who has assumed the role of nurse will enter the name of Anil and he will click on the submit button. Now we will assume the tester will see this output. Okay. What the tester will see? We will assume he will see this output. I will write the output here. So tester is seeing this on a screen. Okay. Okay. Now, what is your immediate analysis here? What should be your immediate analysis? So tester is seeing 2 records of Anil. What is the reason? What is the reason for this? The reason is there can be patients with same name. See, please note, this flaw was explored. This flaw came into picture because of the tester assuming the role of nurse and testing the system, testing the behavior of the system, where he realized when only name of the patient is being used, multiple records can be accessed. Now what will be the consequence of this? Nurse will be confused. Which record to access? There are 2 records, maybe 10 records may appear with the same name. Which Anil to access? So he or she will be confused. Okay, so this is a failure. This is a failure of the test case. Okay. Now, what are the other possibilities? Now, to identify a patient uniquely, maybe we can take a mobile number. So this will be informed to the development team. So development team may add one more field here. Okay, maybe mobile number. Okay, so the issue will be fixed because no 2 mobile numbers can be same. So mobile number of this first Anil will be different from mobile number of second Anil. So mobile number entry can help us retrieve a record uniquely. Okay. So just now we understood a flaw being identified by the tester by putting himself in the role of an actor or a stakeholder. Okay. So this is what we call as scenario based testing. A typical scenario was created. Okay. A scenario of how a patient will visit a doctor, how the doctor will diagnose. Once done with the diagnosis, the nurse updating the data or the diagnosis details to the database, and how this can help us discover hidden flaws, hidden issues in the system. Okay. So this was the second type of release testing called as scenario testing. The third and last one in release testing is performance testing. Okay, so we'll try to understand what is performance testing and few different aspects of performance testing. Okay. So the third approach that could be used during release testing. So performance. Okay, so what is performance? What exactly is tested with respect to performance of a system? Okay. So already this was discussed in one of the previous sessions. Performance is basically about the non-functional requirements of the software, which includes usage of the resources such as memory, processor cycles, so reliability of the software, okay, how robust the software is, okay, how much load the software can take, at what point it will break down. Okay. So all these various dimensions will be tested for in performance testing. Okay. Now how performance testing is done? Okay. For going with performance testing, so what the tester will do here is he will build what is called as an operation profile. Okay. Now what is an operation profile? What is its importance? What is its significance? Okay. So already we had discussed, see, everything cannot be tested in a software. You cannot test everything. You cannot give all possible inputs. You cannot come out with all possible scenarios and check whether the software is working correctly. It is not possible. Okay. So our test cases are limited. We strategize the test cases. Okay. We only choose the most appropriate ones. We choose the ones where the failure rate is high. Okay. Functionalities which may fail. How we will get to know about it? So based on the previous experience. Okay. So we had seen this in guidelines for testing. Okay. That was discussed in previous sessions. Now what is the operation profile? So in operation profile, what the tester will do, tester in the release testing team, what he will do is, he will build a profile of a software in terms of functionality. Okay. I'll give you a typical example. Consider our software was a e-commerce software. Now what are the different typical functionalities? Okay. Maybe sales. Customer able to log into the e-commerce platform, book a product, and order. So we will consider it as sales. Now we will assume 70% of the functionality in the software is managing these stages. That is a customer logging in, searching for a product, visualizing it, browsing it, and adding a product to a cart and ordering the product. Okay, so that is the one. Once he has added the product to the cart, then it is payment. We know that. Okay, so managing the payment or payment related details, we'll assume it is some 10 or 15%. Okay. So remaining 15% we will assume it is internal to the system, like the purchase, this is a typical profile, operation profile of an e-commerce software, and you can see sales is occupying majority of the profile. Majority of the functionality in this e-commerce software is related to sales, 70%. Payment and purchase is trivial. Now, what is the use of this profile and what is the role it is playing in testing? Okay. See, already I told you, you cannot write test cases which are exhaustive. Okay. So now what we can do, what we can strategize here is, okay, fine. Okay, since 70% of the functionality, since the major functionality here is sales, let us have majority of the test cases for sales. For example, there are some 10 test cases, some 10 test cases that are to be written. Okay, fine. We will have some 6 to 7 test cases exclusively on the sales functionality. Remaining 1 or 2 for the remaining payment and purchase. Okay, what we are doing here is we are building a profile, we are identifying the major functionalities in the software, and those major functionalities are being tested for the performance. Okay, so that is operation profile in performance testing. Okay, this is one aspect. This is one of the aspects in performance testing. Now, what are the other aspects? So now in performance testing, as already mentioned, we need to check the performance of the software under various conditions. Okay, how it behaves. So under what conditions you are checking it, you are verifying it. Okay. So we will load the software to the maximum limit. Okay. For example, we will assume the software is a website. So we are aware website can only take a limited number of requests at any point of time. Okay, for example, we will assume it can only take 1000 requests, okay, at any point of time. Now what will happen to the next request, 1001th request? Okay, so that will be a load on the website, and that request may be rejected. Okay, now we will load the website to the maximum limit, and we will see what is the behavior of the software. When the website is experiencing the maximum load, is it behaving as per the expectation, or is it degrading? Is it failing? So all these things are tested. Okay, so we check the software at the limits, okay, at the boundary region. So we call it as a load or a stress testing, the details of which will be explored in a different session. Okay, so we try to see at what point the software may collapse. Okay, now we understood maybe it is taking 1000 requests, or maybe 5 more requests. We verified, we checked that 5 more extra requests coming to the website, it is degrading the performance of the software website. I mean, users are not able to access the website. This was the observation that was made. Plus 5 more requests, the website is crashing. This is the observation that was made during performance testing. We will assume like that. Okay, so maximum 1000 requests could be taken by the website. 5 more extra requests, meaning that 1005, the performance is degrading. Another 5 more requests, the website is crashing. Okay, now this was the observation. So to ensure that such a thing does not happen, what can be done? Okay, so we can limit the number of requests. Maybe the number of requests is reaching 990. Okay, so we can ensure that a new request is not taken by the website. Okay, so this can ensure the number of requests that are already taken is being serviced without any degradation or collapse. Okay, so now how we got to know about this? How we got to know that with 990 requests the website is behaving as per the expectation? So that is what we derived through performance testing. Okay, we understood at what point the performance is degrading, at what point the failure is occurring, and based on this experience we have reframed, okay, we have reorganized the website. Okay. So this was performance testing. So we will conclude this session at this point. Okay. So in this session we understood release testing. Release testing is done after the software product is almost complete, but before giving to the client. Okay, So in release testing, we can use different strategies like requirement based release testing, where the requirements of the customers are taken and test cases are written for the same and it is tested. Okay. So release testing can also be done based on scenarios. We understood what is a typical scenario, how a scenario will be used to test the software. Okay. So also we understood non-functional requirements of the software being tested in performance testing and how it can help us maybe rethink about the design of the software. Okay. So this was release testing done by a release team exclusively, explicitly dedicated for testing the software product as a whole. Okay. So in the next session, we will take up the third and last one, that is user testing. So user testing is done by the users, as the name itself is indicating. So different aspects of user testing, how it is done, how it will help us discover the hidden errors or flaws in the software. So all these aspects will be covered in the next session, that is session 5. So thank you.